Today we're going to be baking some bread. Now this is a very crusty, light and fluffy bread. One of my favorite recipes to make, especially during the winter months. I love this bread so much because it is something that you can have in the morning for breakfast or if you're having afternoon tea. So I've got all of my ingredients that I've laid out in front of me. It is a very simple recipe, but a part of this preparation is having and giving yourself enough time to make sure that you get a perfect rise. So we will be rising it a few times today, but it will just help to make it taste all the more amazing. So first, I'm just going to have some tea. I'm drinking green tea today. I'm feeling a little bit tired because yesterday I went out for a long drive. Let's begin. So, I'm using some organic bread flour and I'm basically going to use a measuring cup, but I want everything to be very precise. So I have some kitchen scales and I'm going to measure everything into a large bowl. I'm going to turn that on, pop that on there like so. And we're just going to measure that in. And I'm nearly finished with this, so I'm just going to pour the rest of the remaining directly in. And I have some more. I just love fresh bread. And usually I would go down to this place in Greenwich and buy a fresh loaf of bread there. One of my favorites that they have is a porridge loaf, and it is just full of seeds and it's just so light and fluffy. And when you toast it, it just tastes amazing. Next, we're going to add 600 grams of water. And this water is lukewarm. So not really cold, but also not warm. It's just lukewarm. Now just grab some more. Okay, so that's 600. Now, I recommend using your hands for this part, even though it is a bit grotty, but the best result is going to come from using your hands. And you kind of just softly put your fingers through and just combine the water. Now we're going to do this until it's all combined, and then we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. So I've just let this set for about 10 minutes, and what I'm going to do is I've measured out my salt. I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top. I've also transferred it into a bowl because we're going to be using the stand mixer that I picked up yesterday. And also the same with the yeast, 3 grams, just sprinkling over the top. Now traditionally you would use your hands for this step, but I've just been so excited to try and test my new stand mixer. So we're going to try that one today and see how it goes. Turning the mixer on, level about 2 to 3 to start the process of kneading the dough. This kind of machine is just brilliant because you can walk away for about 10 minutes and then come back and you'll have the perfect dough ready for you to work with. This is how the dough is looking after mixing. I am now going to cover it up with a towel and let it sit for about 15 minutes. Okay, so it's been sitting in there for about 15 minutes, and I'm just going to, incorporate the sides of the dough. So I'm going to fold it over about 5 times, giving it a good stretch, but not pulling it apart so it breaks, but just a nice little stretch. And this should take about 2 minutes in total. And then we're going to cover it again with a tea towel for about 45 minutes. And this is just the process that you do before the longer rise. The bread should now be well incorporated, but should still feel a little bit sticky to the touch. This is now the last bit of the folding you should do before the long rise. And you just make sure that you don't overdo it, but rather limit the folds to about 4 to 5 times, and then leave it under a towel for at least 1.5 hours to about 2 hours. And you should see the dough will have risen quite substantially by that point. So I've just let this sit in here for 2 hours now. And what I want to do is now take it out, and basically we're going to apply some bread to the table. So I'm just going to do a light dusting. So this is the flour, the bread flour. So I've just popped that there. And as you can see, it has risen a lot. So we now have to remove this. So it's looking very nice and fluffy, which is what we want. I'm going to place it onto the table. Now it's going to be very sticky. But that is okay. And try and get as much out as you can. All right. So here we've got this like so. And I'm just going to pop a little bit more flour over the top. Now to get the dough into a nice shape, I'm going to fold it over into thirds. So this is a little different to how we were folding before. It's a little bit more gentle and more of a pull towards the other side of the dough. So be mindful not to overdo it at this point. We are not kneading or stretching. We are just simply trying to get it into a good shape. And then you're going to use your hands, and you're going to be cupping it towards the bottom like so. This feels so rewarding and therapeutic. Do this until you are happy with the shape. Now I don't own a Benetton, but to compensate I've used a bowl that I have placed a tea towel in, and I've sprinkled a little bit of flour. I'm then transferring the dough into the bowl for the last time. I know, it's a lot, but this is just for 60 minutes more to let the dough incorporate into the new shape. Okay, so this has been sitting in here now for an hour, proofing. We're going to have a look to see what it looks like. Wow, it is looking amazing. You can still see that it has risen completely, but it still has a lot of airiness to it, which is what we want. So this was a process of many hours, but I assure you that every step is really important just to make sure that you are getting the most fluffiest crust and dough for your bread. So what I'm going to do is take out the Dutch oven. So I've had one in here proofing for about 30 minutes at 250 degrees. So we'll just see how that's going. Okay. So because this is nice and hot, it is going to really crust the bottom of the bread and just speed up the crusting process. So it'll be really nice. So now what we have to do is flip this into here. So I'm just going to kind of work my way around it. There we go. So you can kind of mold it a little bit to kind of figure out your shape. Now I've gone a little bit because it's very hot. I've gone a little bit to one side, but that should be fine. And then I'm going to pop the lid on like so. Open our oven and place it. Now you're going to cook this at the same temperature that it was preheating for. And yes, so basically give it about 30 minutes in there and we should have a really nice result from the bread. Okay, so it has been about 30 minutes inside the oven cooking. It is not browned as much as I would have liked to, but I don't want to overcook it. So I am happy with the result now it's turned out. However, it is very soft and it has a good bounce to it. So now I've just placed it on a drying rack and to let it cool for about 30 minutes before we cut it. You don't want to rush this point. I know it's very tempting, but if you let it fully get rid of most of the steam, then you're going to have a lot of a better result. Well, what a day it's been. Such a good day to put aside to make bread because it does take quite a long time, but as you can see, the result is just amazing. It is light and fluffy, and I like to enjoy my bread with a little bit of Vegemite and some butter on there as well. So taste test, here we go. It's beautiful. Well, that is all. I hope you do try this one day at home, and just remember, the most love that you put into it, the better your result will be. So giving that little bit of extra time really does make a big difference, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.